Magic 87.6. Let's talk some tech stuff right now with Matthew Dickerson. Hello.
Hey, hello. Let's talk some tech stuff indeed.
Yeah, let's do this. Now, driverless cars, they've been trialing these for a long time, but apparently somewhere in the world now you can get a driverless taxi, Matt.
Yeah, Phoenix, Arizona. If we could jump on a plane and fly to America, which obviously is a bit difficult at the moment, but if we could go to Phoenix, Arizona, and by the end of the month, we'll be able to pull out our phone, order a taxi via our app, and lo and behold, a taxi driven by Google's Waymo service will turn up with no driver in the driving seat. Very freaky. It's driven autonomously. It's got a certain range around Phoenix it can go, so it can't go everywhere. You can't jump in at Phoenix and say, take me to Los Angeles, for example, but you can drive around the certain area there and it will take you there. You get at the other end, you get out. It's all been paid for on the app. Sounds fantastic. And hopefully it will be. There's been a bit of a trial going. They had a trial going before our pandemic hit and they had some selected customers using it. It's all being remote monitored at this stage, but at some point in time, they want the computers to take control. So that's where we're headed, Andrew. It's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, no, I'd like it to develop the metro plan like they do in Sydney with the metro train. Have you been on that yet, Matt?
I haven't been on the metro train.
I've gotten used to the metro. I love the fact that it's I don't have a problem with it being driverless. I'm comforted by the fact that there is still a human watching a screen somewhere.
Yeah, and the slight difference there, and they've had driverless trains for a little while, but you've got train tracks, so you're pretty limited in what it can do. When you get to the road, it's just there's so many things around, so many distractions, kangaroos coming out, people walking across the road, cyclists, other cars, motorbikes. You don't realise it, but humans are pretty clever. And we work all this stuff out. And sure, there are car accidents, obviously, but we work all this stuff out and manage to drive on the roads. As you said, they've been working for years on autonomous driving or driverless cars, and we're still not quite there yet. Taxis will have that controlled environment, but I think it's 5 years away before we see cars rolling out that are fully autonomous.
I give it 10.
Yeah, right.
I'll just stretch it out there a bit. I'll give it 10. Yeah. But airline food, we can't go anywhere. Do you miss it? I don't miss airline food at all, Matt.
If someone had have said to me, say, in January this year, people would pay to go and sit on a plane on the ground to eat airline food, I would have had them committed to an asylum immediately. It just seems like a ridiculous idea, but that's exactly what Singapore Airlines is doing at the moment. They've got 2 of their A380s parked on the ground. Obviously, as so many planes are parked on the ground around the world, and they've opened them up as impromptu restaurants. They've only opened them for 2 days towards the end of October, but they were sold out within 30 minutes of opening up the bookings. Now, I hope they are doing something just a little bit better than airline food, but you can pay different amounts depending on where in the plane you want to sit. You mightn't ever be able to afford to fly first class, but you can go into the first class suite for only $474, a bit cheaper than a first class ticket. But you can go right down to the economy experience for $39. You can go and have dinner in the economy section of the plane for $39. So it just sounds incredible. But look, people are trying to be creative in how to generate some money when we've got, obviously, your normal businesses aren't generating money. So I can't see myself running out to the airport to go and have dinner in a plane, but people are doing it, and good luck to them.
Seriously, I was on an airline once, and the meal that they gave us consisted of cheese and crackers.
Oh, well, at least it was. You're probably pretty confident that it wasn't going to be off cheese or off crackers.
No, but seriously, how does 3 crackers and 3 bits of cheese sustain you on a 3-hour flight? Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, hopefully for your $39, you're getting more than cheese and crackers, and for the first class suite, even better, I would assume.
Yeah, I expect at least a 3-day-old roll with a bit of butter. Come on now, The ACCC and Google, the fight is on for open use content, but apparently there's a big situation going on overseas.
Yeah, and we have talked about this before, about this ongoing battle. The ACCC has been a bit of a leader around the world, and other countries are looking at what's happening in Australia. Well, France is actually one step ahead of us, where they've gone through the process and they made a ruling that Google had to pay for news content that it was using and had to pay the news providers, which I think in Australia, the discussion we've had seems like a fair and reasonable outcome. And the next stage was to negotiate the price. And that's when Google said, we don't like this idea. Why don't we appeal it? So they've gone through the Paris Court of Appeal and they lost that. So now it's at the point where they've got no choice. They have made some, I believe, empty threats to pull out of France altogether, pull Google out of France, or to stop displaying any news content at all. But I just think someone at Google will say, look, it's okay to make these empty threats, but we still generate billions of dollars out of France, so let's just suck it up and pay a certain amount to the news provider. So that's the first one to fall around the world. Australia's not far behind. A few other countries aren't far behind as well. So I think it's all going to happen pretty quickly. Once a few countries get those rulings through, it'll happen across the world, and they'll be paying for news content across the world. And I think it'll probably make about a minuscule blip in their profits. It might soak up, 0.1% of their overall profits.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to have to get to the stage where this is going to have to happen. And you know what, Google, say what you like, but you know what? We're all waiting to go back to Yahoo. Yahoo's the one that's standing in the corner going, you know what? They're all going to come back. It's all, we got news. No one's whinging about our news. It's all good.
That's right. And if it's not Yahoo, it'll be someone else. So if Google pulled out of France or if they stopped displaying news content, there'd be someone else there waiting in the wings to get straight in there and suck it up. Again, Google generates significant income from searchers, obviously from advertisers who are relying on people seeing their brand in their search engine. So if there's news that people look at there and they're going to have to pay for some of that, I think that's probably okay. I mean, they're worth about $1 trillion roughly. So, they're okay from that. Even in Australia, the amount of revenue they generate from little old Australia, which is nothing in the worldwide scheme, about 4.8 billion they generate in gross revenue, of which 4.3 billion was just from advertising. So are they going to put all that at risk and allow someone else to come in? Look, I don't think so.
No. Alta Vista, you just sit there. Maybe your time will come again. Like us.
You're scraping the bottom now.
Now, colonoscopies, they're a thing as we get older, but I don't know, would you let a robot do it, Matt?
Oh, just put some shivers up my spine or all sorts of places. About that. Now, in theory, a robot should be more accurate, should be able to perform a colonoscopy even better. And researchers at the University of Leeds in the UK say that you could actually have a colonoscopy done with a robot without being under general anaesthetic, which sounds fantastic because part of the process for colonoscopy, the general anaesthetic is probably a major part of the recovery where you're knocked out for a period of time. You can take days or even weeks to recover from that. So there's a robotic colonoscopy machine. It's got a camera lens, it's got magnets, it has magnets on the outside of the body to direct where it goes. It all sounds like they've got it under control. At this stage, they've been doing some tests on some plastic dummies. They've been doing some tests on pigs, but they haven't actually got the test done on the first person yet. They're about to go down that path, and I'm not putting my hand up to be the first one to have the test done on me, but I think it'll make it better. As with many operations, Andrew, makes it better if you can have a robot doing it with increased accuracy and basically, I suppose, allowing more people to have procedures done, because you can have more people trained up at a level that's not as high as a surgeon level to be able to control these machines, and these machines should be able to do it faster and better. So overall, it should be better for our health outcomes, but it still just sounds that little bit scary, doesn't it?
I know, right? So you mean someone's still got to control a machine? It's not like pre-programmed or something.
It does it autonomously, but you still have someone monitoring in case they need to take control or take over. But it doesn't need to be someone as trained as a normal surgeon would be that was performing a normal colonoscopy. So you can have more people with more control over this rather than just that elite level of surgeon there. So, yeah, look, it's something that people would still monitor, but it is trying to do it autonomously.
Yeah, right. Matt, I understand it's a thing, and sometimes, I'm not that Greek, but maybe I could be that Greek to go. I don't know. I don't know. I just kind of like the human error, frailty, and I don't know. Maybe it's just a personal relationship I like with my physician. But yeah, look, it's technology.
It's technology. It's an interesting relationship you've got with your physician while they're doing a colonoscopy on you.
Yeah, I know, right? We don't go into that doctor-patient confidentiality.
Of course.
Computers, they're still a major thing around the world. How many were shipped in the third quarter of the year?
Yeah, about 79 million, give or take. And
Only a few.
that's right. If you go back a year when we're comparing these figures to, there were people around who were talking about the decline in the PC industry and how much some of the PC manufacturers were suffering. And of course, a little thing called a pandemic came along, and that had a dual-edged impact. It actually made it hard for the manufacturers to keep producing the volume they needed, but it increased the demand. So subsequently, with those two things, there was actually a drop in shipments in the second quarter of this year, but in the third quarter, that was an increase of 13%. So that's fantastic for some of those PC manufacturers who were struggling a little bit and maybe a year ago were considering their overall future. When you look at it, Lenovo topped the chart in terms of the actual number of shipments, 19.3 million shipments from Lenovo alone. They increased that by 11%. HP, 18.6 million PCs. They were in second place, increase of 12%. Acer was the biggest improver. They only shipped 5.6 million, but that was a 15% increase overall. So there's a fair bit of life left in there. And really now the question is, with more people working from home, more people being out of the office, whether it'll be able to maintain some of these numbers or whether or not it'll start to fall back and tablets will start to take over as they have done in the past. But look, it's good news for those PC manufacturers. You're always looking for a silver lining in something like COVID-19, and this is one of those silver linings for this particular business.
Apple only shipped 6.3 million. What's going on there, Apple? Come on, got to lift your game.
That was a 13.2% increase, and that's not too bad for Apple. Apple, some stages, I remember back in the old days, Apple struggled to get a 3 or 4% market share. They used to get maybe the education market, these sort of a few schools, but now 6.3 million out of those 70-odd million PCs, they're getting up close around 10%, and that's not too bad for Apple.
Absolutely.